Amogh will start now.
Sure.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the second lecture of the Science and Society series of Paraspar, organized by the Office of Communications, Indian Institute of Science. Today, we are very happy to have a very enterprising alumnus of IISc, Amogh Sahaje. To give you a brief introduction of Amogh, let me read out something about him. Amogh completed his master's degree in mechanical engineering from IISc in 2014. Since then, he has spent much of his time living with remote rural communities of the country. For the last 5 years, he has been staying in a remote forest village in the Satpura mountain range in North Maharashtra with a forest-dwelling tribe, Pawara. By living, observing, and experiencing the local culture, he has documented their language, their knowledge of forest, ethnic medicine, and folk stories. He has discovered a couple of ancient extinct musical instruments and craft and has helped create small-scale livelihood options for the local community by producing and selling these handicrafts. He has invented a solar stove, a micro hydro turbine, unique technique to collect pure forest gum, mole leaf plates, and recently a solar decontaminator to make reusable N95 masks to tackle COVID-19 pandemic, especially for the resource-constrained rural regions. The decontaminator is now installed in a few places in rural Gujarat. He has been training people in constructing the solar stove that he has invented to help them establish their own village scale enterprises and disseminate within their community. He has trained organizations in Ghana and Zimbabwe to construct the solar stove. He will soon be in Africa, where he will train communities settled in refugee camps to construct this and sell and run their own enterprises. He has been filming the region and also has written script for a documentary film. So this is among many things Amogh has done. And regarding the question and answers, we will take the question after the lecture. And you may raise your hand, and after I call out your name, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Amogh?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Amogh.
Yes. Hi. Thanks for the introduction. It's actually, I'll say it's a delight to be presented the opportunity to speak here. So I'll briefly tell my experience staying with the tribe and what I discovered there, and what I suppose is how science and technology evolved from the basic primitive stages to where we presently are, and yeah, I mean perhaps what could be a good philosophy for science. So science, that is the study of nature and the laws of nature, and technology, the utilization of these laws for meeting our own purposes, has had the most transforming effect on human society, perhaps seconded only by religion. From the early stone tools, I mean using stone tools and clubs to hunt. I mean that's the way hunting even happens at my place even now sometimes. The invention of bow and arrow was a big leap forward, which not just reduced the effort required to hunting, but it also transformed the diets. Similarly, the knowledge and understanding of soil fertility and the invention of basic farm tools uh, not just changed the diet of the people, but it also changed and transformed their settlement. I have been staying in this community, in this tribal community, since 5 years. It's a remote place in a forest, isolated, away from the civilization, fairly away. And staying here, living there with them, experience and observing them, I could understand how perhaps initial understanding and learning of uh, I mean, initial science and how technological development must have happened. Uh, this community has been in isolation for most time, and hence, whatever problems they faced, they had to find solutions in their own environment. So, whatever things they could acquire over there, and using their own minds, tinkering, they had to solve problems, be it to cure diseases, find medicine, build houses, be it to find food, hunt, or even to entertain themselves. What I could observe is much of the discoveries or creations that happen here, they happen by keen observation, tinkering, playing with it, and oftentimes like it's like serendipitous effort. So they just do something and accidentally find out. I'll share like how yeah, I mean, with photographs I'll elaborate how things happen here. So you can see the slide.
Yes, we can see Amogh.
Fine, yeah. So yeah, this is my village, and the center one is the house where I stay. Yeah. So children here, since quite a young age, they would be playing and discovering things on their own. So from bamboos or say whatever they find around them, they'll make some toys out of it. Maybe with them, they do it themselves or with their elder siblings' help or fathers or parents' help, and they'll be creating something to play and entertain themselves. So be it something, some sticks on which they'll stand and dance, or maybe some motor vehicle sort of a thing that they would make. They'd also make some interesting toys out of insects as well, actually. So what sometimes they would do is like you have some certain insects which fly. So what they would do is they'll tie a string to it, and the other end of the string to a stick. So you trigger the fly, and it sort of revolves around it. So that's a toy for them. Similarly, they'll track birds, and like they keenly know like where a bird perches, where it sits. So they'll have some stick on which some tree's gum would be applied. So they'll keep it there, and the bird which perches there would be caught, and that they used to play them. Uh, it's quite interesting the way they tinker and they develop their own toys. This is an interesting, I would say, an invention, whatever. I mean, to catch crabs. I'll just play it for you. Can you see that?
Yes, we can see. Video hasn't played yet.
Yeah, I just started.
Yeah, sure.
So this is a tool to catch crabs. So you have a bait, you have a loop, and you can see that how they are. Yeah, so they have the knowledge of the crab, where the crab would usually reside. They know its behavior. So crab typically does what? It has a habit of uh, yeah, I mean holding the prey, whatever it is, like eating on in one hand. So this is the observation that they have. So uh, yeah, so based on this observation, they know exactly what sort of feed the crab would need. So the bait is made of that. So in this case, it would be a chicken's intestine. So you put that stick wherever you suppose you sort of know where the crab would be. So you sense it when the crab holds it, and from the other loop, then from other end, you put a loop.
Amogh, it's not been shared. Are you showing something?
So yeah, they have a keen observation of how the animal behaves, and so that's how they are able to devise this tool. And yeah, I mean the crab would always hold the whatever they're eating with one hand, one claw, and that's how you put the loop. You twist it and you catch the crab. So yeah, I mean, just like this, they have a proper understanding of different animals, how they behave. And that's how you see there's very little, if any, animal-human conflict. They know how a tiger behaves. Uh, excuse me, sorry. You can see a screen, or how is it?
Yeah, we can see the screen of the crab.
Okay. So anyways, yeah, I mean, so similarly, they'll have knowledge of how even the wild animals behave. So they know how a tiger behaves. So you won't have any conflict with the animals. Similarly, they have knowledge of the different species of the snakes and which one is poisonous. So based on that, they know how to handle a snake. And yeah, I mean, similarly, they have knowledge of other animals of the fire forest as well, such as honeybees. So through that, they would know how to, which species is harmful, which is not. So how do you, collect honey of some particular species? Which season would be when you should not consume honey, because in that case, there are some poisonous flowers in the forest which bloom. So you should not consume honey in that season. So besides that, I mean, this is about the animals. Similarly, they have a very good knowledge of uh, the flora as well. So they know I mean, since they have been living there and they have to have their own cures and medicines. So uh, they have derived medicines from whatever they find around. So you have cures basic from say skin infections to even what you say even snake bites. So you have such as this particular medicine would be used for skin infection. There's something else that would be used for sawskin viper's bite. There would be something for curing a child's say diarrhea, or maybe if the bile pigments is more, so this medicine, or this will be called vasanya. So besides this, I've also observed the sort of techniques they use to construct houses. So such as this particular one, we call this makadi. So here it's a lever mechanism which we'll use to lift a house. So that's what we are doing to repair the house. With the lever, the segment is lifted and then it's pushed and mended accordingly. Levers otherwise is also used to uproot things. Then you have this certain mechanism where you lift heavy weight using this sort of a crisscross mechanism. So what you do is when you have to lift it, you press it close. You can see that?
Yes, we
You're
can
able to
see.
see this,
We can
right?
see. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, with the friction, it's not able to expand, and you just keep pushing the poles from the bottom closer, and that lifts the heavy load up. Uh, yeah, I mean these are some very interesting and unique things that I've observed here, and it's quite uh, uh, interesting. Like even children have a good hold on all this knowledge. I mean, they themselves would be experimenting with these things, and they also create such interesting crafts. So, yeah, I mean, these are uh, some interesting things that I observed here. They have also invented some interesting crafts, such as they would make a what do you say, a hookah, or yeah, a hookah out of fruits. Then something very interesting that I've had observed and was this musical instrument they call gangul. So this is a simple instrument crafted out of a bamboo, a particular bamboo again, whose knowledge they have. So yeah, I mean, this was extinct. I mean, the elder generations used to play this and construct it, and now sort of it was lost. But I could find some elders who knew how to play it and make it, and I could, I mean, I could get it remade, and now we also started a small scale livelihood for them. So this is how it is played. I'll play a short video of it.
The sound isn't coming, Amogh. Shall I play it?
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think now it should work, I suppose. Yeah, there
Okay.
was some
Shall I
issues.
stop
Yeah,
it?
I can play. Can you hear it? Right. Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is instruments for entertaining themselves, to build their houses, to cure diseases, to cure, yeah, I mean, and otherwise knowledge of the animals and how to deal with them. I mean, yeah, and that's how they have been able to survive independently in isolation for such a long time. I mean, until quite recent times, they rarely even used to even trade outside. I mean, barely some people would go out, and it would be mainly for salt. They would be trading. So yeah, I mean, this is how I could see how perhaps initially the generation of knowledge is pursuit of science and development of basic technology, simple technology must have happened. So I suppose over period with accumulation of this knowledge and again documenting of all this knowledge, over period, we developed baking clay as well, so making bricks out of it, developed metallurgy, agricultural technology, that is plow and like knowledge of soil fertility, and that caused food surpluses. And instead of going for replacing it, yeah, I mean, having replacements and like sort of having a shifting agriculture, we started settling at a place and perhaps started settling densely. Society, I suppose, then started becoming more and more complex and sophisticated, with division of labor and interdependency taking place of self-sufficiency. And I suppose this is how a new form of society developed. And since it was complex, you needed it to have some order and stability. And that's why I suppose establishments of customs and traditions and organization of people's faith must have happened. At my place also, people have their faith. They have some deities in the forest. They don't have any, oftentimes in a idol or something, but they have a faith. But I suppose over period, perhaps things get more organized and you have a religion. In ancient, if you read some ancient books or some writings of some ancient authors, we often see that they actually appreciated the development of religion for a society. Like Al-Biruni was one such uh, author, a Persian author, uh, who had said that for society or state rests in some degree on religion. These twin states and religion are in perfect harmony, and their union represents the highest development of human society. But I suppose this development of yeah, I mean, of the society, uh, inhibited in a way the persuasion of science and advancement of technology, because it would had perhaps caused some sort of an instability. And if you read uh, some some scientists of early times, you often find that they complained uh, of the ignorance of nobility of science, because perhaps I don't know. I mean, it could had violated their religion, and that would have been undesirable. So, yeah, I mean, you see references in history as well, like Indian astronomers like Brahmagupta, Varamihir, and Aryabhatta. They are quite hesitant and were had to be very careful in publishing their findings. That the eclipse was not actually the eating, the swallowing of sun or moon by a star, which was the Puranic tale, but instead it was the shadows of Earth. Similarly, you have instances in the West as well, where Copernicus was hesitant to publish his studies, and Galileo was actually punished and was put under house arrest till his death. But I think since the Renaissance period, these things started to change. Perhaps after the massacres of Crusades and the Black Death, thinkers of that time were also exposed to foreign cultures, and it seems they started growing critical of religion and started looking beyond, revising ancient philosophies and arts, and that gave rise to the age of exploration and scientific revolution. And you have great minds such as Copernicus, Newton, and Galileo during this age. The Renaissance also gave rise to different sects within Christianity, which eventually resulted in the religious wars of the 16th and 17th century. And I suppose this further made the thinkers of that age skeptical of religion. And now you have the age of enlightenment, where this word ethics are as in like more promoted, which is a divergence from the previous notion of living for the union of God. So that got replaced with a pursuit of life for satisfaction in this life itself. So yeah, I mean, reason took the basis for action instead of faith. I'm speaking about Europe particularly and the Age of Enlightenment there, because Europe has been the epicenter of modernization and of modern sciences. And what the happenings here have had impact across the globe. So, with the new ideology, science was now fairly free from the constraints of religion and found new patterns other than this monarchy and religion. And one of that was the businesses, as in. With Age of Enlightenment, even the ideas of individual freedom, economic freedom, and freedom to acquire wealth also took good hold, in which were replacement for the previous notions of modesty and piety. So this grandly favored business, and advancement of science and technology were now being pursued by businesses to make larger profits. So you have the early development of thermodynamics used for pumping out water from mines. Then you have yeah, I mean, the subsequent developments then resulted in the creation of steam engines and the beginning of industrial age. Yeah, I mean, the invention of development of printing technology popularized this new ideal of enlightenment. So yeah, science and technology now was being pursued by businesses, and that gave rise to the industrial revolution. Science and technology helped make larger profits for them, but it also for states also found it very beneficial to support and pursue science. For that meant hello. All right. So yeah, I was talking about. Let's try them over. Yeah, so yeah, the state started sponsoring science and technology because science that meant they could pursue their what do you say territorial ambitions, military conquests, and expand their empires even better. So yeah, I mean, science and technology found new patrons that were the state and industry. Uh, but through, as Adam Smith's this theory, I mean, invisible hand. So industry did help the human society as well in a big way. I mean, with the advent of modern medicine, I mean, many incurable diseases could now be cured. Suffering could be avoided. With the advent of agricultural technology, you had improved seeds, you had fertilizers, pesticides, mechanization and irrigation technology, which produced surpluses of food. And besides, with the transportation technology and yeah, other consumer products, yeah, it brought prosperity and general comfort to living. But industry has its own appetite for land, for resources and workforce. So yeah, I suppose with yeah, I mean, so for land, so they had to acquire yeah, I mean, land, say, then for mining, they had to acquire big places and had to displace lakhs of people. Like even in my region, for hydro project, people had to be displaced. And yeah, this is one aspect. Many people who were small scale workers or artisans, they also lost their livelihoods because of this new industrialization and favors to industry. But besides this, the industry also had a big appetite for workforce, which has transformed the modern living, uh, where like you live to work and you work so that you can afford to exist. So yeah, which I see is very much in contrast to the way we live in the village. Absolutely free, independent, and carefree, which seems in stark contrast with how it is in the cities, or like somewhere like our place is like far away from modern technology. But here you would see people are quite dependent, vulnerable, and worried, which does have a toll on their own health as well because of the lifestyle diseases. And yeah, and they'll have whatnot you say, yeah, psychology, depression, rates of depression as well. So if we compare some say an old person from my place, he would rarely might have visited doctors, and would be uh, yeah, physically fit, be able to jump, run, carry loads, which would be very much in contrast, perhaps, how it would be in a uh, city for a equivalent person of equivalent age, who might have undergone some surgeries, and yeah, it's rare to find somebody that healthy, I suppose. Uh, so yeah, besides, I mean, these impacts on of the transformation of life, uh, there are consequences of indirect consequences of technology as well. You see, like because of the sophistication and the complexity that we have created because of globalization, the interdependency and complexity, we are quite vulnerable. So just take the example of this COVID-19. Uh, because of the interconnectedness of the whole world, this disease from a small corner within a matter of few weeks could, I mean, uh, go across the globe and yeah, almost stall economies across, and yeah, I mean, cause widespread diseases and yeah, even deaths. So yeah, I mean, I'll share. There's this interesting quote by an author and an economist. I'll share it here. Yeah, E.F. Schumacher. You can see the.
Yes, we can see Amogh.
Yeah. So what he says is we have today more scientists alive than all previous mankind put together. And you may well ask, what are they doing? So the answer would come back that they are all solving problems. Now you might really get worried, aren't we running out of problems? But he says that no, like we have them bigger and better, because we have a very different approach to solving problems, like taking a sledgehammer and tacking a nut. So it flies in all direction, and then we have seeded 12 new problems, and we take 12 sledgehammers, and that's what we call then exponential growth, which seems well, quite apt. So, besides this persuasion of science and technology, I mean, these are somewhat like side effects of unwise persuasion of perhaps science. But we have some deliberate uh, persuasions which actually can be quite against humanity. such as we have weapons now which I mean, powerful countries have weapons which can destroy the whole globe many times over, and we still are not stopping. So, say for US, the defense R&D, like close to 50% of their defense R&D expense is still on. Sorry, I mean their R&D is close to 50% is on defense, and yeah, supposedly for maintaining strategic and technological advantages over their political enemies. Uh, and this poses a threat of global catastrophe. Suppose such weapon arsenal falls in the hand of some irresponsible regime. Uh, this being one thing, you have covert, I mean, with the advances of data sciences and the technology, you have companies and even states able to study a person's individual's behavior, uh, then yeah, make estimation predictions of their likings and uh, what do you say, and yeah, and manipulate their behavior. So it's quite well known now that online many internet companies, they do track people, their surveillance. So their behavior, the sites they visit, their likings and their preferences are known. So with that, they are able to manipulate and predict and often even control their behavior. So, science and technology in this way is being quite harmful as well to the freedom of individuals. Uh, an interesting playwright had once written, which goes like, in time you may discover everything that there is to discover, and your progress will still only be a progressing away from mankind. The gap between you and them will one day be so wide that your cheers for something new achievement will be answered by a universal gasp of horror. Uh, and that is, well, yeah, I mean, quite the state presently. I mean, so I suppose that there's a need for a philosophy of science and technology. Otherwise, it's likely that maybe some megalomaniac or those driven by domination and control or warmongers are the ones who have a hold of it. A philosophy of science, I suppose, is necessary that makes that that whose general pursuit of knowledge is a priority, and serving humanity is also another. So these are the basic tenets of society, which should include even avoiding development of monopoly. So, my own personal principles, hence, have been to develop. I just fine, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I suppose there's the need for a proper philosophy of science, and I have been following some of my own principles for developing technology. So my first uh, point is to develop technology, particularly for a household, such that a household can be independent and self-sufficient on its own, without requiring dependency on anything. So the second one is making whatever technology I am developing, keeping it simple, such that, and not deliberately complex or sophisticated, simple so that anybody can understand and use and craft it on their own. The third being that it should be possible for it to be constructed locally with readily available material, and next being the design should be freely available, such that anybody can use it and also modify and, you know, so yeah, I mean, appropriate for their own purpose. I think if these principles are there, the scaling up becomes quite more likely. So with these principles in mind, I had developed the solar stove, the 100 suns. And this was something I had developed while I was staying there. I could uh, my observe and also personally experience how it was a struggle for people to collect and gather firewood. Much of the region in my place is now fairly barren because we have roads and all network growing, and because of that, you had a high rate of deforestation. So many parts actually have a shortage of firewood. So it was here that I could think and develop this solar stove based on the points and the principles I had just suggested. So uh, yeah, this is uh, the solar stove which we can construct ourselves at homes.
Amogh, are you trying to share something?
You're
Your
not seeing
slides are
that?
not. No,
Oh,
we just
sorry.
see your first screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. You can see the screen now?
Yeah, now we can.
Slides?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm very sorry. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this is how yeah, I mean, you people go collecting and firewood. So yeah, based on this, I mean, being there, seeing there, also like working there, so I could, and yeah, we had a good son. That's how I could conceive this solar store, something that you can construct on your own at your own homes, and within if few people gather together, within hours we have it ready and functioning. So something that would function just like a regular gas stove, but without the fuel. Yeah, these are some clips. clips. Since then, me and my friends from the village, we have constructed quite a number of these solar stoves, have installed at many places, and also trained people. Few of this. So where they are able to save up to 1,000 rupees, if they use it regularly, they would be saving like 1,000 rupees a week. So that's a big thing for a small business like them. So yeah, I mean, I have been sharing the same design and like whoever was interested, I have been sharing and like training them. So I've an organization in Ghana could be trained with this. In Zimbabwe, there was a friend whom I had supported, and yeah, he constructed it. And, yeah, it's his dream project to start some sort of stall out there. So yeah, that's his video. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so now I'm scheduled to leave for Africa. So yeah, I mean, there I'll be training more people in constructing the solar stoves and yeah, help them start their own enterprises. So my understanding is if the whatever the technology is useful, I mean, and uh, it's easy to construct. It's modular in a way that they can also play add their own ideas to it. I think the technology can scale up on its own without any support. The way this is happening. So yeah, that's my little experience with technology, and yeah. So what I think is presently there's a lacking of proper philosophy for science and technology. Uh, I mean, if we want the relation to be benevolent, such that the science is beneficial to society, uh, a proper philosophy, I think, is essential. Otherwise, it's likely that it would be, industrial barons or megalomaniacs or warmongers who might happen to dominate it. So, yeah, I mean, that's all I have to say. Hmm.
Okay, thank you, Amogh. Then we'll take a few questions.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you may raise your hand, and when I call out to name, you can unmute yourself and ask a question. Wait, I think somebody is typing. Okay, before we have, so I wanted to know, Amogh, what has been the reaction of the local people when you invented this stove and gave them for use? Were they readily accepting, or they were skeptic or reluctant?
Well, actually, it was quite funny. The initially when I had developed it, the thing is like you have fire being created in the air, so that was somewhat magical for them. That was there, and also they were suspecting if I had created a new device, so I mean that would track and monitor the forest. So if there's some smuggling thing happening, so like if this is a device that would catch them. So it was, yeah, I mean, it was surprising. Some thought it was magic, but yeah, I mean, as they could understand these are mirrors and how the principle behind it, so they did understand it. I mean, so yeah, I mean, so that's how it was. Magic for some others they could understand, but subsequently everybody understood. Yes.
So, Mr. Richard Polo is asking, I'm sorry, I did not understand how your idea of development in different is different from how use of technology progress across generations.
Uh, okay, if I can. All right. I mean, if I can clarify the question, I mean, can he get on the mic perhaps?
Yeah, he did not want to get in the mic, so he wrote there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Could you please get into the mic and maybe elaborate your question, Mr. Richard?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi. That was a nice talk. I failed to get the idea that how is the idea of development which you are suggesting in the place you are is different from how development happened in human society long years back and the state we have reached now. So I'm trying to extrapolate from what you're suggesting. Will that also converge to a similar state as we have now? In human society, or will that have a different trajectory compared to what we are now in terms of how we use technology currently?
Okay. Okay. The community I am staying with, it perhaps would just get absorbed with the mainstream, the way things are happening, I suppose. So, yeah, I mean, that's how it would happen. Perhaps a different trajectory could be, it can follow a different trajectory, I suppose, if it's a different philosophy, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, presently what would happen is these people would, most likely more of like be dependent on the industry. They would be migrating, and you just, yeah, I mean, and living as workers, and that's all actually happening. The places which are of the region, which are, like more urbanized in a way. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
might happen, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Okay. So your idea is to make the place self-sustaining.
Self-sufficient.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
There's another question, it seems.
Okay, shall I read out?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. By Shruti Kalia, the question is, so were the tribal people affected the same as were the people of the modern interdependent society by the COVID pandemic?
Actually, absolutely not. The thing is, yeah, I would specifically say of my village and the whole area surrounding my village. So these people actually don't need to migrate outside. So they grow their own food and they stay there only. So whatever the trade they have to do, it would be just like to the local markets. So we didn't have any case there.
Okay, the next question is by Indumati. In general, humankind naturally can solve problems and create on tinker. So can science be taught then?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, science, I mean, you have tinkering and solving problems that can grow, I mean, on with what we learn as well. So I suppose so.
Hello, this is Sai here.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. So nice talk, Amogh. So wondering, like, having a philosophy or a policy for directing the science or technological development, don't you think is a kind of double-edged knife in terms of, again, just as the developments and powerful tools goes into wrong hands, similarly, even creating a policy and even the policy makers or the philosophy itself gets into the ones who decide and enforce gets into the wrong hands, can in fact cause much more damage than probably organically letting it grow and have the way the currently developments are happening, right? So at least in that sense, those who are not willing to really contribute to a damaging cause will not be forced to get into that, but can pursue on their own with their individual motivations. But the moment we tend to bring in something at a large scale, that entire science or technology and technological developments have to have this kind of direction and this is the policy and so on, then I'm seeing it as a double-edged knife. I hope is my concern clear?
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Actually, I think presently, I mean, science is led by the state or industry, and which have a motive to, dominate or sort of make larger profits, control people. So I think presently science policy and otherwise is less about freeing people or making them self-reliant. It's about, dominate in a way like, getting more benefits out of it or like controlling them. That's what I think is presently. So I think making them self-reliant has to be, it's an important principle that should be there in the policy. That's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Chinar Mehta, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Amogh. That was a very interesting talk. What I was thinking when you were, so I'm a social sciences student, and what I was thinking was that, so one thing that I've noticed is that we in our curriculum, in our masters or undergrad even, we have to sort of go through this a study of what is epistemology, what are the different kinds of methodologies that people use, and how we arrive at knowledge. And there are just so many different ways of coming to quote unquote the truth that we just have to pick one and try to justify in whatever way we are trying to produce knowledge. Do you think that that kind of a philosophical underpinning of what is knowledge and what is truth and so on, should that be a part of also science curriculum, largely speaking? Do you think that that is missing, or is it already there? Or in terms of so basically what I'm trying to ask is that in terms of pedagogy, what do
Yeah.
you think can be done within universities and such spaces specifically?
For teaching sciences, particularly, you're saying?
Yeah, to say, to inculcate this understanding of a philosophy of science.
Okay.
Um,
Uh, okay. So, yeah, in science, what happens is you have, certain certain unquestionable, you say, thesis So yeah, I mean, so you're talking about like how these like science training to students, is that what you're particularly talking about?
Yeah. Like, what do you think, in your opinion, can be a, like, what can be done in at that stage during the learning, as a student, as students of science?
Okay,
How
okay,
do
okay.
you think that
I
can
think,
be?
see, science should have two purposes. One is the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake. That is one thing. And secondly, it should be to serve humanity. So yeah, and to help people, help a household, help a family to be independent, self-sufficient, self-reliant, you know. Yeah, so that has to be a principle that has to be taught while you're teaching, pursuing science. That's what I think. I mean, pursuit of knowledge, and second is serving humanity. So that's what I think is should be there.
Okay, thank you.
Amogh, there's a similar question. You
Yeah.
have worked in the grassroots. We'd like to know your views on having a mandatory philosophy of science course in PhD and master curriculum. Do you think this needs to be taught?
Absolutely, I think because otherwise, I mean, see the where we have, I mean, as I was discussing in the talk as well, like you have, you have, it's the scientists and technologists who have developed these weapons, of mass destruction. You had the Manhattan Project. It was, scientists who had developed the weapon that had killed civilians, innocent civilians. So a philosophy of science, I think, is essential to be taught. Yeah.
Any more question? Okay, maybe we'll wait for one more minute. If no one has any question, we can. Yeah, Sri Lakshmi, please go on.
Sir, what I have to ask is that what I understand from your talk is that you have implemented your own ideas, you have developed it for their self-sustainability, but have you tried to offer technology support so that they themselves can utilize their own expertise, their own traditional knowledge in order to make themselves self-sustained?
You're talking about particularly the solar stove? Uh,
Not particularly about solar
okay.
solar cells, but generally, as they might be having their own technique, their own traditional expertises,
Yes.
and sometimes they can develop those abilities using at technical support or scientific support.
Yeah.
Have you thought in such manner, or have you done anything in such manner?
I agree with it. That's how it should be. I mean, more power to them. So if they can appropriate the technology, they can put their own minds, create something, develop something further on it. So that's something I absolutely agree and desire. And yeah, I mean, in some places that has happened. Like one, I had helped a person from Switzerland. So he wanted to make a solution, some solar stove, something that he could carry with him for hikes in, say, wherever he's going for snow, skiing hikes or whatever. So there I had shared the design. He had its own mind. He was also a bright person. So he had designed something on his own, utilizing basic design of mine. He developed, and yeah, he had shared video of that, like how he was cooking in the snow. So I agree with it. That's how it should be done. I mean, freedom to the people. And I had some little experience, just like what I said. Yeah.
Certain.
I think they had already asked. Hands are still raised. So Amogh, I wanted to know about your, the documentary which you have made. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
It's about particularly about festival. We have Holi is a big festival in our place. Actually, that's the grandest festival we have. So I and Wild Films India, we together had collaborated and filmed the part. And so yeah, it's a documentary film regarding that. So script for that, yeah.
There are some messages in the message box. Mr. Dinesh Kumar has thanked you for the interesting talk. Sai Shiv Gorothi has thanked you for sharing your experience and views. China, do you have another question? The hand is still raised. I was wondering. Okay.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah.
So we'll wind up for today, Amogh.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. I know you are in a remote, place just now. That's why we had this drop in communication, the connection. Even then, we managed to have a very brilliant talk. Thank you so much, and all the best for your, endeavors in this direction. And I'm sure that, all of us are very proud of your, efforts. Thank you so much, Amogh.
Thanks.
Thank you.